Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of the Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann. Empower your purpose with Rehmann. Today, we're going to continue our coverage of the Red Wings' end-of-season press conferences. We'll hear from Tyler Bertuzzi momentarily, Jonathan Bernier around 11:15, and Luke Glendening around 11:30. So let me bring in Art Regner and Ken Kale. We're going to give you a little preview of hopefully what we'll hear from Tyler Bertuzzi. I know one thing, you guys, I'm really excited to catch up with him. He played only 9 games this season, and the last game that he did play was on January 30th. We know that he underwent back surgery at the end of April, and like I said, I'm excited to see how he's doing, how the recovery is going. We heard from Steve Yzerman earlier in the week that said Tyler Bertuzzi has been at the arena, been working out a little bit and starting the rehab process. So that's a good sign for him, and they hope that he will be ready for the 21-22 season. So Ken, what are you looking forward to hearing from Tyler Bertuzzi?
Well, I think when he went out of the Red Wing lineup, Danielle and Art, the team kind of went south a little bit. He was really off to a good start. It was a contract year for him. And, the Red Wings, I think, really missed him on the power play. That seemed to be his bread and butter, and he was scoring power play goals before he left the season with that back injury. So, I want to see how he's doing, how he's rehabbing. And, again, his contract's up. He's going to have to sign another deal, but I think he's a valuable member of this Red Wing team.
I couldn't agree with you more, Ken, and I think that is the deal that's definitely going to get done. Again, Steve Yzerman said that most of the restricted free agents are going to be offered contracts, but it's just a matter of length and, all the details that go into a contract. But Art, what are you looking forward to hearing from Tyler Bertuzzi? Oh no, Art doesn't have audio.
Well, I'm kind of curious to see this timeline because he was out for so long, and when they hello, can you hear me now?
Hey, Art. Hello, Art.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Oh man.
Hello. Can anybody hear me?
All right. Well, Art is entertaining all of us this morning, Ken. But yes, Tyler Bertuzzi was a key on the Red Wings power play. And we know that they eventually went into a really long drought, which was unfortunate throughout the season. And that was right after Tyler Bertuzzi went down. So like you said, a very, very key player for the Red Wings. And we heard from Dylan Larkin yesterday during some of the player press conferences. And he talked about playing with Tyler Bertuzzi and how much he enjoys it. So hopefully they're both healthy and we can see them play on that top line together next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm really hoping that Dylan Larkin will be ready. I assume he's going to be ready as he'll rehab throughout the course of the summertime, get ready for the next season. But, the Red Wings really missed some really key components, I think, offensively last year due to not only the COVID, but to significant injuries. And when you think about it, like I said, Tyler Bertuzzi was off to a really good start. Then he didn't play 2/3 of the season. Dylan Larkin was out for the last 5 or 6 games of the season. And, of course, Robbie Fabry was out too. And all 3 of those guys provide a lot of offense for Detroit. So, again, I think with a year now for Bertuzzi or an offseason to just, get healthy, start skating again and strengthening up that back, everything will be good. Same thing with Dylan Larkin. And as Steve Yzerman mentioned, he anticipates both of those players being ready for the start of training camp coming up in September.
You know what I'm interested to hear from Tyler Bertuzzi, Ken, is just how much Danny DeKeyser has been involved with the process for him. I know DeKeyser talked about it a little bit too, but we know that he underwent back surgery, and I'm not positive if it was the exact same surgery or if it even was a similar surgery. But I'm sure Danny has been there to kind of give Tyler some advice and encouragement as he's going through this process.
Back injuries are really tough, as you know, Daniela, and it's hard on a hockey player because the way you skate, a lot of that pressure is on the lower back. And I'm telling you, it takes a while to strengthen up those muscles and get ready to play. We saw with Danny DeKeyser, he came back, but it took him a while to really get to where he was at towards the end of the season. So when you miss almost an entire season like Tyler Bertuzzi, it's not like he's just going to come right back and be the same player that he was. I mean, I hope that's what happens. But, I think usually it takes some time. It takes some physical play to make sure that the back is okay, because that's Tyler Bertuzzi's game. He gets in front of the net. He gets worked over from other players, especially with some cross checks. And that back's going to have to stand up. So it's not easy if you're Tyler Bertuzzi, the way you play the hockey game, being in front of the net, taking all that punishment, and hopefully you have your fingers crossed that that back's going to be okay.
Ken, this is probably more of a question for Tyler than it is for you, but it's an interesting thought that obviously he wants to be out on the ice. He wants to be playing. He wanted to be playing all season. I'm sure it killed him to be off the ice. But is there anything you can gain from watching every game and kind of seeing the game from a different perspective?
Well, you're always learning, whether you're watching from the press box or from home or listening to the games on the radio. You always learn something, I think. But, I think for hockey players, they want to be in the lineup. They don't want to sit around. They want to be able to help their club. And I think the best thing for Tyler Bertuzzi is to play as many games as he can, especially when it comes time for training camp and exhibition games, just because you want to be strong out there. And you have to test that back sooner or later. And that's the same thing that happened, as you mentioned, with Danny DeKeyser. He came out. But again, this is a game of speed. And if you're not used to the NHL speed, and you can't think about your injury or your prior injury when you're out there playing. So you just have to go out and play your game and hope that all the exercising and all the things that you do to strengthen your back, you don't have to worry about it. You just go out and you go and play your game. But again, I think you can learn anyway. That's a good question, Daniela. Whether you're watching or whether you're on the ice, you can always learn something.
Right. And I mean, when you think about what Danny DeKeyser went through in the time of his return, it was during the COVID-19 season, right? So he didn't have much time to actually play some hockey, like a real game scenario before he jumped into it. I guess if there is any positive out of Tyler Bertuzzi having a back injury is that he's going to have this full offseason to rehab it. And he's probably going to be able to skate a little bit more than Danny DeKeyser was able to, at least with other players in more game type scenarios.
And that's the key right there, is skating. This is a game of skating, as you mentioned, Daniela, and he's going to have to go out there, and I'm sure over the course of the summer he's going to do that.
I'm going to interrupt you. It looks like Tyler Bertuzzi is ready to go, so we're going to toss it over to him, and we will catch up after the press conference.
Yeah, I'd say the season was obviously tough and frustrating for me, but I'm feeling really good right now. I know it's early, but I'm looking forward to next season for training camp and for the summer ahead.
Tyler, this just happened, or was it kind of a lingering thing, or it happened like that weekend or something, or what exactly?
I honestly couldn't tell you. It could have been a lingering thing that kind of just kept growing, or it could have been just the hit that in Dallas I just fell on it weird, and I kind of knew right away something was wrong, but something could have led up to that, or it could have just been that. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
The last one for me, how confident are you that you'll be there for training camp?
I'm really confident.
So no hesitation at all. You feel you're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Thanks for this, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you.
Next up, Helene St. James, Jerky Press.
Hey Tyler, when you had good surgery April 30th, is that correct, in New York?
Yes.
When will you be able to train or fully again?
I think that's still sort of up in the air, but as we're talking with the trainers right now, I'm feeling really good right now, so I think probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks I can probably start getting back into the gym and really amping it up.
Are you like Dylan, you can't swing a golf club yet? Or where are you at?
Unfortunately, no. That'll be maybe a late July or mid-August thing.
When did you realize, because I know you tried for months to make it back, skating on your own and whatnot, when did you kind of realize that this probably wasn't going to happen?
Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, it was frustrating. I was doing everything I kind of could to get back, and I had a few shots in my back, and that helped for a couple weeks, and then it would sort of come back, and then I was making really good progress, and I was almost about to practice, and I kind of had a little bit of a setback, and that's when we went that way to go see the specialist in New York and get another opinion. Obviously, it ended up in surgery.
Did you really talk to teammates? I mean, I know Danny DeKeyser obviously had surgery, or players just about I mean, that's a major surgery to have to undertake. What recovery might be like.
Yeah, I talked to D. Obviously, he had the same surgery as me with the same guy. So I talked to him a bit, and he kind of just gave me obviously what was going to happen, what was expected, and yeah, I was obviously nervous going in. You never want surgery, but I thought I was honestly going to be a little bit more immobile after. I'm feeling really good right now, so I'm happy I ended up doing it, and yeah.
Last thing for me, just I imagine you were pleased with the 9 games you did get in, with how good of a start you got off to.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm going to try and build off of coming into this season. Like I said, it was frustrating to watch the guys go out every night and not be able to be out there, and trying everything you can to come back, and I'm going to try and build off of that, and fresh start next year.
Thanks, Tyler.
Next up, Max Bolton, The Athletic.
Hey Tyler, how tough was it, having to watch that much of the season, and I know, especially as they got off to that kind of slower stretch in that one part, what was the emotions of kind of having to sit off and let them watch it?
Yeah, especially I was trying to come back, and I was so close I think a few times, and just trying to get back out there with them, and obviously sitting at home watching them play on the road, and obviously not getting to hang out with the guys as much, or be around them, or be around the rink, and honestly it was a really tough year, and I'm looking to just put it past me and get ready for next year.
Looking ahead, I mean, what do you expect kind of your off season to look like? I imagine it's a lot of kind of recovery and kind of based on strengthening for the first part, but
yeah, we decided as a group that I'm probably going to stay in Detroit for at least most of it, if not all of it, and rehab at the rink with the trainers. We have a pool here with a treadmill, so I've been in that almost every day, which is going to be big for my recovery, and just try to come back as quick but as smart as we can, and I think I'll be ready for training camp, and I'm excited.
Have you been able to see your family? I think they're based in Canada. I just wasn't sure if you've been able to see them during this process.
Yeah, no, I haven't. Lots of FaceTimes.
Feel better, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next up, Answer Count and Live.
Hey Tyler, what was it like early on after the injury? You tried to skate a few times. Were you able to put on the equipment, or just what was it like just going out on the ice?
Early on, it was a lot of pain. I couldn't really do much, and then when I started skating, I think for the first few times I was just skates, gloves, and stick, just a tracksuit, and just trying to get back into it as much as I could, and just keep up with the hands and the skating and stuff. But I only really got into equipment, I think, when I was almost coming back, when I kind of had a setback in Carolina.
Early on, were you still optimistic that you'd be able to come back this season, or at what point did you think that this wasn't looking good to come back this season?
Yeah, obviously I'm just trying to be as positive as I could. Doing everything in the gym every day with our trainers, and I probably would say maybe with a month left, whether I was feeling really good or not, I was kind of in the back of my head, would it even be smart to come back right now? And I was going to try and come back, and I was feeling really good, and then I had that setback, and that's when it was obviously set in stone that I wasn't going to be coming back, and I needed to go see someone else.
With the kind of game that you play, just a race, kind of physical game, are you confident that you'll be able to get that back real quickly as soon as you get back on the ice?
Yeah, of course. That's I think the reason we went with surgery is because it's going to fix it, and I'm going to be back in front of the net next season.
Thanks, Tyler.
Next up, Art Rebner, Wings.com.
Hi there, Tyler. I'm kind of curious, and maybe a timeline here. it sounds like you kept trying to come back, and what's the final test? I mean, is it, do you try to make a move on the ice to know, okay, it's okay, or do you go up to like Luke Glendening and say, hey, clock me on the ice here, let's see where this back really is? I mean, it sounds like you had moments where you thought you were, hey, I'm going to come back. What happened that you weren't able to come back, I guess? Was it just a feeling, or, I mean, because I know backs are really delicate. I know it's a really long question, too.
That was a good one. No, I was feeling really good. I was doing pre-game skates with the taxi squad and doing some drills like that slowly. I was feeling pretty good, and then we were starting to amp it up. And then in Carolina, I did a little bit of a bag skate just to try to get my cardio up, and felt good during it. And then as soon as I got off the ice, about 30 minutes later, my back kind of seized up on me again, and that was the setback right there.
So the decision to have surgery sounds like it was like the last resort, I would guess. You were trying to rehab, no surgery. So the decision to have surgery, it came down rather quickly, right? I mean, once you decided that it was going to happen, it was boom, we're going to New York, and let's do this.
Yeah, we were all trying to just avoid surgery as much as possible, and people will say that, why didn't you get it right away and whatnot, but I was working out pretty much fully the last half of the season, getting stronger, working on my core. So I know that heading into surgery, I was really strong, and it's going to help with the recovery process for sure.
Looking at your stats in the 9 games you played, you had 7 points out of your 5 goals, 3 were on the power play, 1 power play assist, so 4 out of your 7 points came with the man advantage. While you were going through this process, trying to get back on the ice, how much did you watch the Red Wings, and what did you think was wrong with the power play besides you not being on? I mean, did you, because that seemed to be really the only season-long blemish for the Red Wings, seemed to be that power play.
Yeah, I mean, every team's going to go through a little drill, whether it's power play or penalty kill, and I think you could see that towards the end of the season we were really, really good on both of them. So that's just, that's something that we're going to obviously be working on and trying to get better at next year.
What's your assessment of the Red Wings season as you were trying to get back and, from afar, I guess? I'm sure you were, watching them.
Yeah, never making playoffs is something you don't want to do. But I see progress. I saw progress. I know there's progress, and I think the last maybe quarter of the season, you could see that we were playing hard, playing good, and we say it every year, but we're going to bring it into next season and just try and be positive and move forward.
Have you and Steve talked about a contract yet? Has that been part of the works? I mean, you guys, you had a lot of time on your hands. I mean,
no, the only thing we talk about is my recovery process and talk with the trainers, and we're working on that right now.
And finally, heading into the season, I think everybody was eager to see the Red Wings #1 line of you, Dylan, and Anthony. You and Dylan both were hurt, and Anthony gets traded. In a year's time, how have you changed? I mean, is your outlook different? I mean, I think you always knew that hockey was a business, but here we go with the #1 line that we were all eager to see, and then all of a sudden, everything through injury and through trade kind of blows up. What's your mindset going in now when you look at this Red Wings team?
Yeah, I think we had a little bit of injury problems this year. Obviously me, Larks, a few guys early on were in the COVID protocol. So, and Mo traded. Obviously it sucks, your buddy's gone, but like you said, it's a business, and we want nothing but the best for Mo. He's in the playoffs right now. He's grinding, and we're always going to keep in touch. And I know he's coming back to Detroit this summer, so we'll get together for sure.
Right. right, great, Tyler. Good to see you on the road to recovery. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, Danielle Bruce, Red Wings TV.
Hey Tyler, just one quick one from me, and this might be kind of a strange question because we know that you wanted to play, you wanted to be out there with your team, but were you able to gain any different perspective from watching every game, whether it be from home or at Caesars Arena?
Not really, no. I mean, no. I like watching the guys that, they go out and work hard every night, whether we win or lose. They compete the whole year, never giving up, and, we gave it our all, and I know we're all looking forward to next season.
All right, fair enough. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Last question, we'll go back to Ted Copeland.
Hey, just quick one, Tyler. That play in Dallas, I don't think there was any video of it or anything, but what exactly happened on that play?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you would have saw it, you wouldn't have thought anything of it. There was a guy coming off the wall, and I hit him, and I just bounced off of him and fell on my side, and it was just a weird, awkward play. But if you would have saw it, you would never have guessed that that's what would have ended up from it.
So when you got up, did you fall to the ice, and then it's like when you were trying to get up, it's like, man, this doesn't feel good at all?
Yeah, I just felt it right away. Just my back just shifted, and it was just weird. And then I tried to, play the next game against Florida. I played 2 periods, and that was kind of it for me.
You couldn't really go up very hard that night, or whatever?
No, I couldn't move.
Wow. All right, hey, thanks for this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be back shortly with Jonathan Brennan.
And there you have it. We just heard from Tyler Bertuzzi. A lot to take in there. He told us a lot about the injury that we did not know throughout the season. So I'm going to bring back Art Regner and Ken Kale to talk about what we heard from Tyler and Art. I have to say, every single time you ask a question, no matter who it is on the press conference, they smile. Is it just your I don't even know, your ambiance? Is that even the right word? Your presence?
Yeah, I have that. I guess, I'm kind of the Pied Piper, the guys just follow me and, like the tune that I'm playing, I guess. No, I have no idea. I think it's the way I ask questions more because I have so many ideas or things jumbled in my head that I really want to get it out. But, I think the thing that, and I really want to get Ken's opinion on this. Tyler Bertuzzi reminds me of Nicholas Cromwell. Cromwell had a lot of injuries early on and weird ones, caught a rut in LA and tore his knee up and all that. But I mean, I think they play rough and tumble games and they're not big men. It sounds like to me, and I'm pure speculation on my part, and I'm not a doctor, but I think because this was an innocent hit in Dallas, this might be a culmination of his style of play. That has always been my biggest fear about Tyler Bertuzzi, is that he gives you everything on the ice. He goes 110% each and every shift. He goes to the greasy, the dirty areas. He scores those goals. I mean, he is really, and everyone says, what's his best asset? He's a playoff player. Look what he did in GR when they won the Calder Cup. I mean, that's just him. My biggest fear is I wish that he could get his uncle's size a little bit and he would be, just a little bit bigger, because I'm hoping that this doesn't turn out to be a chronic problem. I'm not trying to sound like a naysayer. I'm wishing him the best of everything. I'm just afraid that, every 2 or 3 years, just a combination of his style of play might come back to haunt him. Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Ken, what do you think? Is Art's take?
Hello, Ken?
What do you think about that take? Do you think that Tyler Bertuzzi's style of play is dangerous a little bit more?
Yeah, I really do. I agree with Art that that's his style of play. But what comes to mind is I remember when Chris Osgood, when he started to become an aging veteran, I remember him talking about how he had to reinvent himself and adapt to age and playing in the National Hockey League. Maybe that's something that Tyler Bertuzzi has to. I'm sure he doesn't want to play that or do that because of the way he plays is the way he plays, right? But sometimes when you have an injury like that, sometimes, maybe you have to shy away from some of the hits, like he went out to hit the Dallas player and ended up twisting his back and how he fell. And, maybe there's a way that you have to just change your way, not to take everything away from how physical he plays, but sometimes you just need to get a little smarter out there, maybe, and learn how to protect yourself as far as how you play. So I don't know. I think when I look at Tyler Bertuzzi, he's not going to change at all. He's just going to go out there and try to play the same style of game.
All right. It looks like Jonathan Bernier is ready to go. We're going to send to the press conference.
Also, I'm sure he'll reach out to me at some point.
Is there? I would guess there's interest on your part in staying.
There is. My family and I, we really like it here. I feel comfortable at the rink, on the ice. So for me, it'd be my number one choice. But that all depends on where Steve wants to head next. If he wants to keep me or he wants to try somebody else. But I'd definitely like to stay here.
Do you like? I mean, this season kind of, 5 guys went into COVID a week into the season. Bertuzzi was gone by the end of January. I mean, do you like what you're looking at going forward, that if there's better health and, some new guys coming in for next season, that you guys can be more competitive than what you showed this season?
Definitely. I believe that we were much better than last year. And like you mentioned, obviously COVID, I thought we had a good start. We felt pretty good about ourselves from training camp, and COVID hit, and we kind of lost our confidence as a group there when we lost that many guys. But I thought we battled hard till the end, and I can definitely see that we're heading in the right direction.
Next up, Ansar Khan, MLive.
Yeah, hi, Jonathan. 3 years ago, I think when you signed with the Red Wings, you knew that the direction the team was headed, going into a fairly lengthy rebuild. Just wondering how you balance your desire. I'm sure everybody has a desire to play for a winning team, a team that's playoff ready. How do you balance that as compared to playing for a team that's in a rebuilding process?
When I signed, obviously, I'll be honest with you, I didn't see Zetterberg retiring that year, but I knew they were going to that stage. But it's a great challenge, as a goalie, especially you can make that rebuild faster if you're playing well and you get some wins. But to me, I lived it in Toronto, and the one thing that I regret is going through the pain, but not being there when they're getting better. So for me, that's one of the reasons why I want to stay here, is all the pain that we went through the last couple of years. I finally see that we're getting better. We got some great young guys, and obviously Larkson, it's still fairly young, and I can see that we're heading the right direction. So I'd definitely like to stay here and see the process and towards the end too,
Just how encouraged were you this year just by the defensive improvement?
Yeah, I thought Steve made some great signing to bring some veteran in the back end, and obviously it was maybe a little tougher after the deadline, but losing Nemo and Johnny, but I thought we were a lot better than last year defensively, and that comes from our forwards too, buying into a defensive structure as well and helping our D. It's not always, we always say, oh, your D is weak, but I think it's a unit of 5 of 6, I guess, that makes a big difference on the ice. So I thought our forward, they back check hard and they play much better defensively. We're out of our zone quicker, and that way you're not overtired, and then you just gotta chip it in and change, and then they're coming back into your own zone. So I thought we were better at getting out of our zone with better D making that first pass, and we were able to spend a little bit more time in their zone.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Next up, Max Bolden with The Athletic.
Jonathan, I'm just curious, the expansion draft happens later this summer. I think that could seems like maybe that could slow down some of the clarity on a lot of guys, especially ones who would want to re-sign with their current teams. Is that kind of your expectation, that you might have to wait until that finishes to really get to work on anything? Or how do you expect that factoring in, I guess?
Yeah, I could. That's very possible. At the end of the day, that's why as players we have agent and they do the work for us. And like I said earlier, I'd like to stay here, but if it's not the right fit for me and for the organization, I'll go somewhere else. But that's hockey. I've moved quite a bit in my career, and I'm used to it, and it's not the end of the world. But it could, like on your question, it could probably take a little longer for sure.
How do you feel like you've grown the most as a player and as a person in 3 years in Detroit?
I kind of went through in Toronto where it got to me when we were going through the rebuild and losing a lot and all the pressure that you put on yourself to win games. And I think I grew from that point on, and I brought that experience here where I kind of blocked that and I just play my own game instead of getting frustrated if you lose 2 or 3 games in a row or things like that. So I think I'm a better player because of that. Mentally, I'm stronger, and obviously, as you age, you get more mature, and you know how to handle a situation better.
And then, as you talk about kind of the rebuild progressing, any of the young guys this year catch your eye, or you really noticed progress out of any of them?
To me, obviously, he was here not for a long time, but I thought Joe was very good for the games that he played for us. I didn't expect that, but for me, he was a great two-way player, and I feel like in this game now, it's hard to find. Like it's all offense, and you got to put up points. But those are the guys that, if they're willing to play both ways, those are the guys that you're going to win championship cups with, because everyone's going to feed off that. And I thought Ras really improved this year's confidence, bring the puck through the middle. He really showed what he can do.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Next up, Ted Colfield, Detroit News.
Hey, Jonathan, leave it to the goaltender to have the cleanest, coolest background there, I tell you. Hey, just your relationship with Greiser. It seemed, we weren't able to go obviously to most of the practice stuff, but it seemed like you guys had good chemistry and good working relationship. Would that be accurate or what?
Yeah, definitely. I'm an easy guy, and he's definitely is. So we got along very well, and same with Jimmy and pretty much my whole career. I get along with my teammates, and but Greiser's a great guy. Yeah, definitely.
Hey, were you pretty happy to see Blash get brought back?
I was. I'm sure a lot of people had their opinion on it, but I really like Blash. I think he does a really good job of teaching the young guys. And for me, he gave me the opportunity to play last year way more. And I gotta give it to him, right? At the end of the day, it's how much your coach wants to play you, and he did that last year, and I kind of took the reign last year and went from it.
Hey, so what are you going to be looking for if you get to that closer to the free agent market? What if some team says, look, we want you to be the number one guy, play most of the games? Here you don't know, and maybe it'll be split like it was. Is that something that might be important if you do get a lot more playing time somewhere else?
Well, I definitely, I play hockey to not sit on the bench. So that's definitely my goal every year, is play as many games as possible. Unfortunately, this year I got a few setbacks from injuries, but I felt my game was good when I was playing. And especially the game I got hurt at home against Dallas, I thought my game was really going up from there. And unfortunately, I got hurt. But I feel when I'm healthy, I can play a lot of games and play some really good hockey.
Hey, last one. Your name was out there obviously a lot in the trade rumors. Did that kind of play tricks on your mind for a few days there, right around there, just not knowing where you're going to be at that point?
Yeah, it definitely does. And especially I think that the fact of COVID and probably not see my family for a while. Um, we're human and we have feelings, but at the end of the day, I was happy that I stayed and finished the season here, and that means Steve probably just didn't want to give me for less than what he was thinking I was worth, and I was obviously, like you said, like probably a week before it, I was starting to get a little bit to my head.
All right, I lied. One more quick one. Did you watch the Washington game last night when the young goalie made Samsonov kind of, I don't know if it was his screw up, but it looked like Ovi kind of went off on him a little bit on the bench. Is that tough for a young goaltender like that in that type of situation? Or, I mean, I was just curious. I mean, what was like a veteran goaltender like you, what's your feelings on that?
Yeah, it's a tough play because it was sometimes when you only have one forechecker like this as a D-man, you rather go and pick up the puck, and that way you can use the net to shield the players. So, maybe it was the lack where he waited maybe a second or two behind the net that maybe he thought he was going to play the puck, and Schultz took a different route, and it's unfortunate, especially in overtime like this.
Did you text Melwood? He was sitting next to Ovi, I guess.
Probably got scared a little bit with that stick there.
Hey, Jonathan, thanks for this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next question for the record, JordanLeaks.com.
Hi there, Jonathan. I know that you've been through free agency before, and I'm kind of curious. I know all the times are different and all that, but like on July 22nd, the day after the expansion draft, do you think your phone's going to be flooded with people talking to you, or during the course of this summer, will you get, through your agent perhaps, an indication of what the market is like for you? Is there, even though I don't know if they officially can talk to you, but through the grapevine, how does this thing really work?
Well, obviously first you gotta see with your current team and see where they're at with your situation, and see if they're interested in signing you. If they're not, sometimes some GMs would let you kind of just get on the field and see if there's some interest out there. And but yeah, it's tough to talk to teams before the deadline. You might start talking to teams like a day ahead or the day off, but obviously you're not really sure on where you can end up and what the market value would be for, let's say, for a goalie. Some years it's really strong, some years it's not.
I know through some of your social media posts and some of the things that you've said during these press conferences that you do like it here in Detroit. I'm kind of curious, do all your buddies and people say, why do you like Detroit? I mean, us that are from here, we always, hear horror stories like, oh, wow, you're from Detroit. Wow, they almost shriek in horror. What is it about Detroit that you like so much?
Definitely Original Six. That's always special to play for a team like that. Lots of history, and it's a great organization. The setup we have at the rink, it's amazing. The way they treat us, and great group of guys. That makes a big difference. When you have fun at the rink, it's not every team that you feel comfortable. And for me, I really like the group of guys here.
I know that you touched upon this, but specifically once Johnny Merrill and Patrick Nemeth were traded, Gus Lindstrom and Dennis Chalowski came up. How do you look at the young defensive core, the young players? I know Hronek is pretty much established, but were you encouraged by what you saw?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I thought that was the right call to bring those guys up and give them some experience up. And I always say, I think a forward, you can play younger, a D, and then usually it's the goalie last. So these guys need to play some games in the NHL and just get a feel of the game and how hard it is to play in this league. And you got to make sure that it's a long season, it's a grind, and I think that's the biggest adjustment that you got to do from the A or from junior.
I know that you play the toughest position and most important position on the ice, but do you give yourself a chance to maybe look at what the Red Wings have coming up? I mean, are you, if things work out here in Detroit, are you eager to see perhaps Mo Seider next year in the Red Wing lineup?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I mentioned, I think Rehmann, I'm not sure if he'll be ready. Obviously, he's still young. Seider had a great year in Europe there, and to me, it's how how your team mature too. It's not you'll be lucky if those guys pan out to be unreal players, but it's more within your room now and see how guys want to work harder and get better every day. And I feel like we're doing that every day here. So I'm excited to see what next year brings.
All right, one final question for me. I do promise this is the final question, Jonathan, but and I've never asked a goalie this question before. I've asked a lot of skaters. Can you teach goal scoring, or is a goal scorer, is that just a natural talent, a natural ability? That because the Red Wings really struggle scoring goals, as you very well know, and Thomas Greiss very well knows, and I'm not knocking the team, but are 30 goal scorers, are they made or are they born, I guess is what I'm trying to ask you.
Tough question for me, but I would say they are born, but it's a really hard league, and to score 30, not too many guys can do it like McDavid, Matthews, and or Ovi, where they pick their spot on the ice and they score from there every single time, right? So a lot of guys have to go in the dirty area in front of net, and that's where most goals are scored by tips or rebounds. So if guys are willing to do that, then they'll score more goals.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be back shortly with Luke Glendening. Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you.
Big thank you to Jonathan Bernier. A lot of interesting stuff that he said there. Let me bring back Art Regner and Ken Kale to discuss what we have seen there. 1 second, I'm still on the Zoom call over here. Okay, yep, there we go. I have my other computer up for the Zoom call, so I had to make sure that I wasn't leaking through for them over there. But something I really like that Jonathan Bernier said, Ken, was that he wants to be here to see the good days, right? He wants to be here after going through the pain of the last couple of years. He wants to stay in Detroit to see the good days, and that's something that he didn't get to do in Toronto. So I thought that was really cool of him to say that he wants to be here. He wants to be the Red Wings goaltender.
It's like the same thing with Jeff Blashill, right? He's been here for a long time, and he's gone through the tough times. Now, as a head coach, you want to go through the good times too. And I think Jonathan Bernier understands the same thing, Daniela and Art. I think he understands that the team is heading in the right direction. I think he understands that it's still going to be a process for them to learn how to win more and move up the ladder, so to speak, to try and make the playoffs and eventually win the Stanley Cup. But I think he understands that he wants to be more of a part of this Red Wing team when they do start winning more hockey games. And as he mentioned, I think he saw the two-way play of Joe Veleno that he mentioned that he really liked. He saw the veterans back there on the blue line really helping this club as well. Overall, defensively, they're getting better. Now they just have to score some goals. So, as a player, I think that you can see that. If you're a goaltender and you can't see things changing, then obviously you want to get out of town. But, that's a good sign when your goaltender sees the good things that are happening, understands the organization and where they want to go.
Ken, that's exactly where I was going to go next. We all know that the Red Wings improved defensively this season, but for some reason, hearing it from Jonathan Bernier just meant a little bit more. What did you think about what Jonathan Bernier had to say, Art?
I thought that what he had to say was absolutely great, and I think he does want to stay, and I think Luke's about to talk. So
Luke is about to talk. Look at you. You'll shut up for Luke Glendening. That's awesome. Good to know. All right, let's go. Man. Luke Glendening's press conference.
Live.
Sorry about that. Hi, Luke. This is, I believe, your first time as a free agent, but I imagine you want to remain with the Red Wings. I mean, you're a guy that's played your entire career in Michigan. Just how important has that been for you? I mean, how much do you relish having spent your entire career, Grand Rapids, U of M, with the Red Wings?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've spoken about it a lot, but growing up in Grand Rapids, growing up a Red Wings fan, and then being able to be here my whole career so far is honestly a dream come true. And I don't just say that; I mean it. I don't know what the future holds, but obviously I've loved being a Red Wing. I love being Red Wing, and then we'll see what happens here. But it's every day that I get to put on a Red Wing sweater is a special day to me.
Have you had any conversations yet with Steve about the future, and or are you kind of is part of you kind of looking forward to possibly hitting free agency and just seeing what offers or what interest there is?
I think there's some mutual interest in coming back here to Detroit, but I don't know exactly how it'll play out. So I'll let that play out as it does. But I love being a part of the organization, and I would love to see it moving forward.
And also this year, with the expansion draft playing a role in things, do you anticipate maybe things getting pushed back a little bit as far as signings go until after the expansion draft?
I can't say for sure. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I mean, that's a little above my pay grade, but I can see that happening. It's definitely it could be something that happens, and we'll just wait and see. I'm not going to stress out about it right now. We'll just let it play out.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you.
Next up, Helene St. James, Detroit Free Press.
Hi, Luke. Things kind of went awry this season early on with the 5 guys in COVID and then some season-ending injuries. But how much hope do you have for next season if you guys stay healthier? And obviously, we got a little window of what Joe Veleno can add, and Moritz Seider is coming in next season. That just the arc of where this rebuild is at.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of reason for optimism. If you take out those 8 games where we were missing a bunch of guys, we're right in the thick of it. I'm not saying that we would have won all 8, but if you can, come out with a 500 record out of those 8 games, we're in a different spot. And, I think, if our special teams on both sides would have been a little better, some of those 1-goal games turned the other way. And, I think we're a lot closer than we were. I think we took some steps in the right directions. We had, a few games this year that, I don't know what you want to call them, stinkers or whatever, that 7-1. And, but, I thought for the most part, on a night-to-night basis, we were competitive. We were in the games. And I think important for all of us, just to play in those 1-goal games. I think the year before we were just down by a lot so often that, you didn't have the opportunity to feel what it was like to play in those close games. And I thought this year we did more of that. And then, like you said, with these young guys coming up, it's exciting for the organization. We got a glimpse of Joe. I thought he looked really good. The development of Rass, Zadina, Chalowski, Giovanni Smith, Lindstrom. I think there's a lot of reason for optimism.
And just your thoughts on Jeff being extended.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. It's good for him. It's good for us. He's been here for 6 years now, I believe. And I think we're getting better, and it's exciting for this organization to have some stability there.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you.
Next up, Max Bolden with The Athletic.
Hey, Luke, I'm curious, what do you see as kind of the key for you guys to score more goals going forward next year? I know that's the $1 million question in the whole sport, but anything stand out to you?
I mean, I wish I could give you an exact answer that, but I honestly, I believe, we just got to get guys to the net. We're going to have to score dirty. Obviously we're missing some guys that usually score some more goals for us. But, we have to score by committee. I thought our defense was a little better this year, which allowed us to stay in games. But, to take that next step, we're going to have to find ways, whether that's just more traffic in front, getting more shots on net. And I think, there other guys have talked about it, but,
every player that's on the roster next year has got to be better than they were this year for us to improve. And with that improvement, everyone needs a little more production. And if we can get a little more scoring by committee, I think that would help a lot.
So after the eternal off season last year, I think this will be the shortest off season you guys have had in some time. How does that change how you approach things?
I mean, I don't think it changes the approach. I think guys are pretty regimented in what they do in the summer. They usually have a time frame. I mean, obviously last summer was a little bit different. We just had so much time off. But I think guys will be getting back in the gym here pretty soon. And, hopefully it'll be nice that, guys are still somewhat in shape when they get back in the gym, and it won't be such a process trying to get in shape in the first place.
Thanks, Luke.
Yep. Thank you.
Next up, Art Regner, triggerwings.com.
Hi, Luke. I want to just go back to the season for a second. Your line of Adam Ernie and Darren Hellman, obviously yourself, seemed to solidify this team when the Red Wings really started to hit a stride. What was it about your line that came through? And do you draw on like a comparison that you were grind line 3 in Red Wing lore, that you guys really upped it?
Well, I don't know if we deserve to be in the same category as the grind line, but what I will say is that I think we just tried to bring a work ethic and compete every single night. And I mean, Adam had a great year offensively. Helmer and I, not so much, but so we didn't know that we were going to score every night, but we figured if we could play in the other team's zone, play a physical game, and grind another team's top line down, that it would give us a chance to win. And I think we kind of relished that opportunity and just did the best we could with it.
When you look at the story of you learning face-offs was legendary. It's almost Red Wing folklore now, how you didn't know how to take a face-off when you first became a pro, and then bam, you're one of the leaders this year, second best to Bergeron, who seems to be the best face-off man in hockey the last several years. What I want to know is what makes a good face-off? Because Chris Draper has always said, if you're not cheating, you're not going to win. What is key to winning a face-off, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
I do think cheating is part of it. Trying to get in there, as close to the dot as you can. But I think it's honestly just repetition and confidence in what you're doing. And we had a lot of guys on this team who were willing to take, I don't know, after practice, we would probably take 50 face-offs. LJ Scarpace is dropping pucks for us, and there'd be some good battles after practice. And I think that repetition, with guys on your team, and then, there's video you can watch of guys and what their tendencies are. And there's a lot of little nuances that go into it that are probably overlooked a lot.
I know that you wore the C at Michigan for 2 years and an A for a year out of your 4-year career there. I know you've addressed Michigan's hockey team before. In these really, bizarre times that we have lived through here, have you had an opportunity to talk to last year's club, which couldn't play in the NCAA tournament because of COVID, and maybe and if you throw Luke Hughes into the mix, there's 4 Wolverines that could be top 10 picks in the NHL draft. I mean, from your perspective as a former captain at Michigan, I mean, how does that make you feel that the program has such high-end talent, and were you able to at least see them play or talk to them?
I was able to watch them play. I didn't speak to any of them, but it's exciting for the Michigan hockey program that they're getting players like that they this year I think they got COVID right before the Frozen Four or something like that, which is just an unfortunate circumstance but the reality that we're living in. But it's exciting for their program that they're getting these guys and they have an opportunity to play for the national championship every year.
And I know that, but do you have a feeling, and I know you're not going to say this, but like come July 22nd, the day after the expansion draft, that your phone will be ringing off the hook, that people will will want, because by that time, Seattle's roster is somewhat set, that, you can sign guys and not have to protect them, obviously.
I don't know what's going to happen, honestly. I don't think my phone's ever going to be ringing off the hook, but I'm just going to let this play out as it does. And obviously, like I said, it would be great to be a part of this rebuild and what's going on here. But if that doesn't happen, I guess we'll just wait and see.
All right. One final question. Do you still miss playing football?
Part of me does, part of me doesn't. I don't miss waking up the next day, so sore that it hurts to walk, but I do miss it. I enjoy watching, college football on Saturdays and the NFL on Sundays. And, I'll still catch some high school games on Friday in the area. So I do love it, but I don't miss playing it too much.
Great. Thank you, Luke. Best of luck to you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Our last question, Ted Colfin, Detroit News.
Hey, Luke, now that the season's done with, it seemed like a lot of you guys kind of talked about it all year. How difficult was it? With all the protocols and everything, was it just very, very different or what?
Yeah, well, first, I think, got to say thank you. Pete Van Zandt, our head trainer, was kind of in charge of implementing the rules. And I know that it wasn't always his favorite thing to do, but he did a great job. And, as a group of players, staff, I think we all knew that if we wanted to get through the season, we had to follow these rules. And they weren't always, maybe we didn't always agree with every single one of them, or didn't think that they were completely necessary. But, I think they did a great job of making sure everyone was safe. Obviously we had that little lapse in the beginning, but not much you can do when it was in the locker room. But, I think it was difficult in the sense that you're in your hotel room a lot when you're on the road. There's just not much you can do. But at the same time, everyone in the league is going through the same thing. So, it wasn't like we were the only ones doing it. And I think we all knew if we wanted to play hockey this season, which we all did, we had to follow the protocols.
Was that the most difficult one that you're talking about? Probably when you guys are on the road, it seemed like you guys were bunkered down or something.
At least when you're at home, if you want to go on a walk with your dog or, whatever you want to do, you have something like that. But, on the road, you're by yourself, you're in your room, you can't have, anyone else in your room. They did have a common area that you could sit in sometimes, but I think being on the road was definitely the hardest part. At home, you're with your family, your wife, makes it a lot easier.
Couldn't you go for a walk on the road?
Yeah, you could definitely go on a walk. And we were fortunate that we stayed in, our division had some warm climate. So it was nice to get out and do that. But, after you go on a walk, you're back to your hotel room. So that was difficult.
All right. As far as the free agency, can you even really even envision yourself wearing anything else but a Wings uniform? Seriously, the way you've talked about it the last few years and stuff, I don't know. Just does that even going on the market even entice you a little bit or not?
To be honest, it's, wearing the winged wheel has been I think I dreamed of it, when I first started playing hockey, and maybe even before. I never knew if it was going to be a reality, but it was always something that I dreamed of. And, like I said earlier, honestly, every day that I get to come to the rink, get to put that sweater on is a special day to me. And I'm not just saying that. That's honestly how I feel every single day. And obviously, I would love to be a part of this moving forward. It's been a dream come true, and I cherish every day. But I think there's mutual interest on both sides, but we'll see what happens.
Last one, how tough have the last few years been? Let's face it, there's been a lot of losing here, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, losing is never fun. It's never easy. And we still have a ways to go. I'm not saying we're out of the woods or anything like that, but I think we're starting to move in the right direction. And I think all these seasons of losing will hopefully teach us lessons as we move forward. I know none of us want to be in this position. So hopefully moving forward, we'll just be able to continue to build on the lessons that we've learned, and it'll make us better in the long run.
Sounds good. Appreciate this. Thanks, Luke.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
That's it for us today. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Luke.
And there we heard from our last player of the day, Luke Glendening. Again, a lot of really good stuff to hear from Luke. Let's bring back Art Regner and Ken Kal, and we'll talk about what we just heard from Luke Glendening. Ken, he wouldn't let us call his line the grind line. He said he doesn't deserve to be in that category, that line being Luke Glendening, Darren Helm, and Adam Ernie. But that line was very important this season, and Luke Glendening is a very important player to this Red Wings team.
All you have to do is look who's on the ice when the game's on the line. And who does Jeff Blashill put out there? It was Luke Glendening, right? Him and Darren Helm, who always seem to be killing penalties and doing whatever it takes to shut down a hockey game. To me, Luke Glendening should retire as a Red Wing. And I hope he doesn't go anywhere, because here's a guy that grew up in the state of Michigan. As he mentioned, went to the University of Michigan, wants to be a lifelong Red Wing. I can't see him going anywhere else, and I don't think the Red Wings want him going anywhere else either. He's a valuable member of this team, and as far as the grind line's concerned, yeah, it's tough to be called the grind line when you had really good guys like Maltby, McCarty, and Draper out there. But I'll tell you what, he's a hard worker, and it seemed like he fed off his other two line mates and had a really good year.
When Coach Blashill spoke to the media, he talked about the mix of veterans and young players that you need on a team, especially during a rebuild. And I think Luke Glendening is one of those veterans that we're going to need moving forward to have a successful rebuild. And Art, you asked him about the faceoff stat, where he is second in the league behind Patrice Bergeron in faceoff win percentage. And it is an important stat. There's a lot that goes into that, and a lot of hard work, like you said, behind Luke Glendening. And his reaction, I just said it was pretty funny when you asked him about his legendary faceoff story. So it's great to see Luke Glendening putting up numbers like that.
Well, yeah, certainly. I'm not even sure if he was, I think he might have been a winger at Michigan. I don't think he started to play center until he was with the Toledo Walleye or Grand Rapids Griffins, and he started to play center, and he was essentially told, and I think it was by Jeff Blashill, if I remember the story correctly, Mike Babcock wants a fourth line center who can take faceoffs. You're not very good at faceoffs. You better learn how to take faceoffs. And in a 6-week period, he went from being like 0 faceoff winning percentage to being the best in the AHL. That's why I think he's a very modest guy, as you could tell. And he still has a football player's brain in a hockey player's body. He loves to hit. I mean, it's classic. Get him talking about football someday. But with that said, what I guess my point being is that he's a very valuable player in so many ways. And, okay, it's a grind line kind of a stretch, maybe a little bit. But and Joe Koser, too, obviously a member of the grind line. That's why I said grind line 3, because they're actually, the Koser unit, then Darren's unit.
You covered all your bases. We got it.
I mean, that's why I said 3. I mean, I hear about it. People go, "What are you talking about 3? What do you mean?" Well, that's what I mean. But with that said, he takes faceoffs. He sacrifices his body. I mean, he had 68 hits and 57 blocks this year as well. That's something we don't talk about. His line was the energy line. They were the stabilizing force. If Ernie and Darren Helm and Glendening don't come together as a line, I think the Red Wings are in a little bit more trouble. We're talking about a season that might have rivaled last year's season as far as point total, win total, and all that. I mean, those guys really brought it. And that's why I think his phone is going to be ringing off the hook, because he's a very, very valuable player with face-offs, energy, will do whatever it takes to win, sacrifices his body. I mean, he looks like the Michelin Man after a game, because he's got ice packs virtually all over. I mean, and that's how he plays. And that's why he's a valuable asset. And that's why I think come January 22nd, I would be shocked if Steve Yzerman doesn't, again, telling Steve what to do. Sorry, Steve. I would be shocked if Steve Yzerman doesn't have him, on a multi-year deal. I just don't see him leaving.
Yeah, I'm with you there too, Art. And Ken, I want to follow up about Luke Glendening with just one more question. He obviously wore the A on this team. He's a leader in the Red Wings locker room. How important is it for guys like Michael Rasmussen and Joe Veleno to learn from a center like Luke Glendening? Obviously, we've got Dylan Larkin on our team too, which is great. But what does Luke Glendening specifically bring?
Well, I consider Luke Glendening a seasoned veteran right now. He's been through all the wars, and obviously he knows how to win faceoffs. And I think he can translate that information to some of the younger guys like Joe Veleno and Michael Rasmussen. And the best way to learn is just listening to people who know how to get the job done and watch what they do. And you can tell just by listening to Luke Glendening that he watches tape of other centers. He tries to get every advantage as possible in the face-off circle. And again, it's just leading by example out there on the ice. If you got to block a shot, you look at how he blocks shots. There's an art to blocking shots. It's not like just going out there and getting your body. There's ways that you do that. And so these younger players that are coming up, as I mentioned, they just need to learn and watch how he plays the game, and they'll learn a lot from him.
All right, we're going to wrap this up after one more question. Today we heard from Tyler Bertuzzi, Jonathan Bernier, and Luke Glendening. I want to get each of your final thoughts and biggest takeaways from today's press conference. Art, why don't you go first?
Well, I think all three of the guys that we heard from today like being Red Wings, and I think they like playing in Detroit. And I think if they had their druthers, that they would like to work out a deal here in Detroit. I think that Tyler Bertuzzi is an essential part of this rebuild. I think that, Dylan Larkin, hopefully he'll be all set and ready to go too at the beginning of training camp in September, along with Bertuzzi. I think that they're going to form a nice core. I don't know if Zadina's going to be the winger on that line, if it's Verana or whatever, but that most likely will be Detroit's first line. So I just think that all three of these guys that we heard from today are essential to the Detroit Red Wings and their future. I mean, if you want this rebuild on track, sure, it's great to see Michael Rasmussen come through. I have, Joe Veleno's my guy. I have big high hopes for Joe. I'm looking forward to seeing what Jonathan Berggren's going to do. Mo Seider, if he doesn't walk across, the Detroit River from Windsor to get to Little Caesars Arena. I mean, we put a lot of expectations on him, but the kid has earned it. So I just think you can tell by the way these players, and we heard from six of them, the three guys yesterday, obviously, and the three guys today, there is a different vibe and there is a different feeling coming out of that Red Wing room. They're not frustrated. They see a foundation being laid and they all want to be part of it. That's my biggest takeaway from that. And then you start adding in some of this influx of young talent, and we don't know who the Red Wings are going to draft with the first round. But if that kid,
I thought you always knew who the Red Wings were going to draft.
Well, to me, it's always as low as they can go. I know what spot they're going to be in, but exactly whomever they draft, I've got my eye on somebody, but I'm not going to say depending on the number that could switch. But and another thing I got out of this too, very, very quickly, because I know we're running out of time here, is that hockey gods. I'm going to have to light a candle today to the hockey gods, because they need to get a player in here, and maybe Verana's the guy. They need a pure goal scorer. That's all. I don't care if that's all he does. Bernier said something really interesting about, he mentioned Ovi and Matthews and Connor McDavid. They go to a spot on the ice, they stand there and they just shoot and they score. It's the same spot. Everyone knows they're going to be there, yet they score. Well, who that reminds me? Brett Hull was the same way. Brett Hull had a spot on the ice where he went, he stood there, and boom, he would score. They need that player, and that's a tough player to find. But if they can get one, maybe I'm being greedy here, two natural goal scorers, I think this rebuild is suddenly really on a higher arc maybe than it is right now.
All right, Art took a lot away from those press conferences as usual, always amped up about it. All right, Ken, what did you take away from hearing from 3 of our Red Wings players, hopefully in the future too, today?
Well, I have to agree with Art. I think they all want to be Red Wings, and that's a good sign. And I've always said that in order for your team to get better, you can't have players that want to be here for a couple of years and then just say, hey, I'm going somewhere else and I don't care about this organization. You heard from Jonathan Bernier how special it is to be in it with an Original Six franchise. Luke Glendening wanted to be a lifelong Red Wing. Tyler Bertuzzi, who's had really good success drafted by the Red Wings, he wants to be here as well. So that's a big key component right there as far as I'm concerned. You want players who want to be here. They want to help the team. And, I think if you look at the overall picture here in Detroit, I mean, the organization from ownership on down treats these players so great. And that's what you always have to ask players like that have been well-traveled around the National Hockey League. How was it when you were in Toronto? How was it when you were in Washington? And a lot of them will say, you know what, there's no better place than Detroit. You've got an amazing facility that is so terrific for advancing players. I mean, the trainers, the workout program, the beautiful facility, and all the everything that's involved with Little Caesars Arena. I mean, it is the place for players to want to play. So I just think that they see the direction the team is going in from management all the way down. They want to be a big part of the team. That's what I see from them.
And just to add to that point, Ken, yesterday we heard from Mark Stahl, who was very complimentary of everything that he went through this season in Detroit. And he even said that there is mutual interest between the team and him to come back next season. And he wants to be here. Art loved that he said he wanted to be a mentor to Mo Sider. He thinks he's perfect guy for the job, right?
I do. I mean, Mark Stahl, because you weren't sure what you were getting. You really weren't. Here was a guy, and New York's a tough place to play, but he was a career Ranger, and like I said, bright lights, big city, the Big Apple, all that kind of stuff, the glitz and glam, and everyone knows. I mean, Madison Square Garden is in the heart of Manhattan. I mean, it takes the Red Wing bus. By the time they get there, it takes them like 30 minutes just to get through, and they're in the front of the building to get to the loading dock so they can get off. I mean, it's, there's a lot of commotion in New York City. I mean, it's always teeming with people. There's a vibe, there's a buzz. And then he comes to Detroit. We have our own special vibe and buzz here. I'm not knocking the Motor City at all, but you didn't know what you were getting, I guess is what I'm saying, and how he would react. He was frustrated with the rebuild in New York, and now he comes to another rebuild here in Detroit. But like most players, once they get here, and Ken hit it right on the head, not only are the amenities great, the food on the plane is excellent. I mean, it's just a first-class operation. Ken and I would know about the food, trust me. But it's a first-class operation. There is a Red Wing culture. Darren McCarty hits on it every time he's on Game Day Live with us, and that culture permeates from the very, very top. From beginning Mr. and Mrs. Illich, and now Mrs. Illich, Chris, all the way down to Steve and all that. They understand what it means to be a Red Wing. They know how to treat their athletes, and I just think that is half the battle today. And then obviously, not only are they treated very, very well with amenities, they're also compensated very well for the most part. With all that said, it's a perfect situation. It's going to be turned around because being a Red Wing actually means something, and it means something to the people in charge. And if they don't get that vibe from you, you're not going to be playing here very long. I can guarantee you that. You've got to wear that winged wheeled crest, not only on your sweater, but it better be in your heart, because if it's not, it's sayonara, fella. Have fun in, wherever. Have fun.
Don't hate on another city, Art. Do not hate on another city right now.
Have fun where you'll appreciate your surroundings a lot more. Okay. Yeah, sure.
There you go. Yeah, I have to shout out our social comment that we just had up on the screen too. I think it was from Gucci Trev, which a great YouTube name, by the way. But he talked about Steve Yzerman and the culture that he's bringing here to Detroit. And of course, Ken, this all starts with Steve Yzerman. We talk about all the amenities and all that stuff, but these guys want to play for a guy like Steve Yzerman too.
Well, they know his track record too, and they just have to look at the Tampa Bay Lightning and where they're at right now. I mean, they're a contender each and every year, just like the Red Wings were back in the day. So, it's got to start from somewhere. So I'm telling you, players understand. They know they come to a situation, they know right away whether or not they want to be here or not. And, if you just talk, all the guys that, we heard from today and even yesterday, they all want to be a part of this team. And I'm telling you, they get treated so well here in Detroit. And it's, players come from out of town, they come here, they don't know anything about Detroit other than it's downtown area. They come here, they find great places to live. They got the lakes, they've got, and they fall in love with this, with the state of Michigan and the city of Detroit and the suburbs, and they don't want to leave. And I'm telling you, all these players are like that. So it's a big secret here in Detroit that nobody really knows about. When these players come here, Original Six franchise, how well they get treated, the facilities, and that'll help them become better players, the training staff, it's all here in Detroit. So I just think that the players that we heard from today and yesterday, they all want to be here, and that's a good situation to be in. And you want those players to lead your team the rest of the way. And I agree with Art. I think Mark Stahl would be an excellent veteran to teach a young guy like Mo Sider how to play in the National Hockey League.
Ken, all I heard you say was the lakes in Michigan. So are you taking these players out on your boat? Is that why they're falling in love with the state of Michigan when they come here? Is that what's going on?
My boat is a rowboat to their boats, I think. So I'd like to go out with them.
I'll tell you something. Ken knows this story. One day I'm driving on Lakeshore Drive or something, and I'm stopped at a light and someone is honking their horn. And, back then people kind of, a certain group of fans would recognize me. And, and I'm thinking, God, yeah, well, I say that very loosely, but usually though, if I turned around, it would be, guy flipping me off or something, or telling me what a jerk I was. So I usually just kind of stayed, but this guy was like insistent. He was riding his horn like, and I look over and it's Sergei Fedorov. And he looks at me and he says, hey, Art, I'm going on my boat. Do you want to come with me? And I'm thinking to myself, boy, I could get in a lot of trouble with Sergey on his boat. so I'm thinking to myself, I said, oh, gee, Sergey, I made something up. Oh, I'm off to, I don't know, doctor's appointment. I can't remember what I told him. But and he go, and in typical Sergey fashion, he looks at me, he goes, suit yourself. And he speeds off. Boom, man, he was gone like in a second. And I started laughing. Probably one of my biggest regrets in life was not going on that boat ride. I don't know why. I kick myself to this very day for not doing it, because Ken's a sea captain. I mean, life on the boat is a lot of fun. And and I'm sure that Sergey had a lot of fun on that boat. And maybe I should have done it. I know I should have, and I regret it. I regret it.
That's all right. Maybe you'll get another chance one day. It's a rare thing, but maybe one day you'll have another opportunity. All right, guys, I want to switch gears a little bit here. We have a really busy offseason for the Red Wings. We've talked about it a little bit with the expansion draft coming up, the entry draft coming up, but of course the draft lottery will be the first thing that the Red Wings have coming up this offseason on June 2nd, which is just a couple of weeks away now. That'll be the next time the Word on Woodward is on the air, and I know it's Art's favorite day of the year, his reaction last year. We're hoping for some better fate this year. I think we're going to get the better fate this year. Red underwear is off the table. Ken, you have to have a better good luck charm than the red underwear.
Well, here's the thing. I think over the past several years, the Red Wings have bounced back in the draft, and they never had an opportunity to move forward. And I thought last year they were going to get the first overall pick. So I think there was a lot of moaning around the league from a lot of people about how the draft wasn't fair, and it really doesn't help the worst teams, and other teams benefit. But I got a feeling this year, and unfortunately for the Red Wings, the draft isn't as strong, I don't think, as years gone by. But I really think the Red Wings are going to move up in the draft this year, so they'll get a really good player.
Okay, well, Ken might be our good luck charm then. We've tried some tankathon simulations on the show throughout the week, and they haven't gone so well. But Ken Kale's got to be the good luck charm. All right, I'm just going to watch this in silence. Oh,
they
man,
dropped one.
Ken Kale can do it for us, man. All right, let's do one more.
Give me a 1. Give me a 1.
Oh man. All right. Well, I mean, 6 isn't a bad spot to pick it. I've got to stop knocking that 6 spot. Of course, we always want the Red Wings to move up in the draft lottery, right? But 6 is not a bad place to be picking, and the Red Wings have 2 first-round picks this year.
Yeah, I just think that they're going to move up. I really do. I just think this is the year that things are going to start going up for the Detroit Red Wings.
You know, I was after we started doing the tankathons on the show yesterday, I got myself down the tankathon rabbit hole, I like to call it. So I was on tankathon for like a half hour, and the Red Wings got the second pick one time. You guys will never guess who was picking number 1.
Edmonton.
The New York Rangers.
Oh man. Oh man. I just think that based on Steve's draft history and how he thinks, I know that whomever they draft at whatever, like they can go down no lower than 8. Whomever they draft at number 8 or 7, however low they can go, we know that's where they're going to go. That it's going to be a good quality player. And I'm just going to say this. I'm going to throw this out, just for have people thinking. Do not be surprised if they go as low as they can go, which we know they're going to. I'm sorry, Ken. I do admire your enthusiasm and your optimism. That's why I've always looked up to Ken. I mean, when I need me a pick me up, I give Ken a call, and he is just so positive about everything. I walk out. I'm walking on sunshine, as Katrina and the Waves said many, many years ago after talking to Ken Cal. But with all that said, they're going to go low. Do not be surprised if maybe Steve just says, as much as they need goal scoring and they need a pure goal scorer, maybe he goes for someone between the pipes. Maybe there's a goaltender in their future.
You were trying to get him to take Askarov at number 4, so now you're back on the goaltending train. Okay, well, the Red Wings have Yeah, I see that. They have a 7.6% chance of getting that number 1 pick, and Art, the lowest they can go is 8. But Ken says they're moving up. I'm sticking with Ken on this one. You last year were very enthusiastic about the Red Wings taking the top pick, and then you just had your heart broken. So I think you're still a little heartbroken. So I'm going to go with Ken this time.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, it's a crapshoot. And number 6, if they stay at 6, I mean, Mo Seider, Philip Zadina, they were taken 6th overall. Lucas Rehmann, obviously 4th last year. I just have a feeling, I don't know what it is, and I can't put my finger on it, but somehow you would think an original 6 franchise like the Detroit Red Wings, who have won more Stanley Cups than any American franchise. I mean, they're 3rd behind Montreal, who had a market on all the best players in Quebec for decades. And then Toronto, because they're, they have a few. But when was the last time they're Leaf fans? What was it, 67, Kenny? And it's not going to happen this year. It's just not. And so even though I like Jack Campbell a lot, he's from Port Huron. But with all that said, I just think that whomever they draft is going to be a great player. And I think that this might be a year where, a best player available or who we really need, they may draft for need. That's why I thought last year Alexander Holtz would be the guy that they would take, because he was a pure goal scorer. And that's what I said. And they ended up taking his teammate, Lucas Raymond, who's more of a offensive player, but more of a, dishing it out. An assist guy. So if they can't get a goal scorer, I'm thinking that they might, if he's available, they might go with a goaltender at number 8, because that's where they're picking.
All right, Ken, I'm going to let you get the final word in here. Is there anything you would like to add to Art's takes?
Well, I just think that Bednash is the goaltender of the future here in Detroit, and he's only 18 years old right now. And everything that I've heard about him is really good. So, maybe down the road, once he ages a little bit and plays in the different leagues, you kind of get your fingers crossed that, he's going to be a good one and maybe a future goaltender for the Red Wings. And if he keeps improving over the next couple of years and makes the progression going north, then, maybe you do have your goaltender of the future. But everything I heard about him has been really positive.
Hey, Keith Petruzzelli too. I know he's a little older and he's playing at Quinnipiac right now, but we've got to see what happens with his deal too.
Right. Now, exactly. The biggest thing that come out of Steve Yzerman's press conference is that if they have a college athlete in 2017, which at this point would be Petruzzelli and Jack Adams, I don't know if Casper Kotkaniemi, because he went back to Finland. He left Boston University, BU, I think. He left BU, went back to Finland, but they get an extra year, meaning that they don't have to be signed this year because of the way the NCAA works. So they do get that extra year. Steve said they retained their rights. I was told that they wouldn't. So what Petruzzelli does, and I think it's probably in Keith's case, it's going to come down to money. Does he go another year at Quinnipiac where, he's been there 4 years already? Or does he become a Red Wing? If Bednash and Petruzzelli are in the system, along with it's Carter Gylander, I mean, they have some good young goaltenders. But if you want to make a splash, and you might want to get a goaltender who has been, and I'm not going to say the name, a goaltender who is supposed to be better than Askarov was last year. That, what the statistics that he put up in a men's league as a teenager, that may be too good to pass up. That's all I'm saying. And I have no inside information at all. None.
All right. Well, I said Ken Kale was going to get the last word, but of course Art Regner got the last word. Thank you all for tuning in today to our end of season Red Wings coverage. We appreciate it. As we said before, there is a long list of things happening this offseason. The next thing we will be covering is the draft lottery on Wednesday, June 2nd. The Word on Woodward is taking a week off next week, but on that June 2nd, we'll be back and times will be determined based on the draft lottery. So make sure you're staying tuned to Red Wings social media channels for all of that information. Again, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time.